We moved here when I was in the third grade. I grew up in a house opposite of you with a single mom, and my grandma raised me. We didn't go to church. We didn't speak of church. My family was all addicted to something, whether it be drugs, alcohol, something. So I grew up thinking that was a normal way of life. When we moved here, I was in the third grade, and automatically when I moved here, I started getting in trouble. I started smoking pot in the third grade. By 13 years old, I'd started using cocaine and hanging out with guys that sold drugs and did stuff like that. So that was like, it was just, my mom wasn't ever around, so it was just me and my little brother at home all the time. And I was kind of the man of the house, I guess you'd say, and I took care of things. But I stayed in the streets, stayed always hanging out with older guys, looking for that kind of affection that, as a kid you need in a father, and even in a mother. My mom did the best she could, but she was always at work or doing whatever she had to do. So I just went through that, and at a real young age, I started getting in trouble. I was an angry kid, and it followed me into my adulthood. I went to jail the first time when I was 16, and just continued to in and out of jail, in and out of, just continued doing drugs, continued selling drugs. 18 years old, I got married the first time to my first wife. Her name was Monty, and we had a son, and I still, she wasn't really into the whole drug thing. She didn't even know that I sold drugs for 5 years of our relationship. And so that through the bars and me being as wild as I was, I ruined that relationship. Kept on, in and out of jail, drugs, gangs. As I got older, it got deeper. I just hanging out with the wrong people all the time. In 2014 or 1999, my dad died. 1997, my dad died of a drug overdose. 2014, my mom, or 2012, my aunt and uncle both died of drug overdoses. In 2014, my mom died of a drug overdose, and in 2020, my little sister died of a drug overdose. Through all of this, I grew more and more angry, but it was, I know now it was hurt and confusion, and, I felt like I couldn't have relationships with people because every time I'd get in a relationship, somebody was gonna be gone, and during this whole time, I had met Bridget, my wife, and we were in our mess together, so we went down the road. At the time, we gave each other something that the other one needed. You know what I mean? And so, in and out of jail, in and out of prison. Just that life just kept coming at us hard. In 2021, I was doing 6.5 months, and my oldest son committed suicide. And during this time, it was COVID, so you couldn't, there wasn't no getting out to go see him or anything like that. I even offered to do my whole sentence over again, and they wasn't having it. So that put a lot of shame and a lot of guilt on me, and so when I got out, I just dove as hard as I could into my addiction. It went past the drug dealing. Now I was a full-fledged drug addict, and at the time I didn't think, I had a problem, because it was just there, and you could do whatever you wanted, but I had a real problem. It wasn't long after that, probably 2022, I tried to commit suicide myself with heroin, and I was out for 14 minutes when the paramedic called me back, and I walked away from it. It was about that time that Bridget was really, she was tired of life. She was tired of the trouble, the cops. We were, we couldn't go anywhere without police just right there on us. They always asking people where we were, what we were doing. They were always watching every move we made. My relationship with my kids, went out the window. And I don't blame because I was a horrible father at the time. I didn't know how to be a father, and then on top of it, the hurt of losing my son, I blamed everybody, and I was super angry with God. My sister is a missionary and she's assistant pastor in her church, and she would try to talk to me, and it was so bad that I just cut that whole relationship off because I didn't want to hear anything about how God loved me, because in my mind, God took my son away, he took my family away. I didn't have any family. So things went on. In 2023, I got locked up again, and I kept listening to this Baptist preacher. He would come on Thursdays, and he would preach. And at first, I'd just sit in my room, and then I'd start coming out, and I'd listen to him a little more. And then something hit me one day, and I gave my life to the Lord one day in the day room in the Person County Jail. And, you think things would get better. I got out, stayed sober for a little while. At this time, Bridget was sober. But it didn't take but that one night. Hey, let's just do a little bit, and it was like, yeah, like you might as well just take the gas can and throw it in the fire, because I was off to the races again. 2023, Bridget almost died. I had to carry her into the hospital with, she has pulmonary lung disease, and she went into full cardiac arrest, and I had to carry her into the hospital. And all of this stemmed from, years of whatever drug and this and that. And I still didn't learn. We lost our house, and Bridget and our daughter had to move in with her mom again, and that's because we didn't have nowhere to go. So, of course, I don't have family or anything, so I go straight to the dope house, and that's where I'm living, in a garage behind somebody's house. And I'd hit rock bottom. It was just nowhere for me to go other than death. And again, I was contemplating that, like, I don't even have anything worth living for. So, I remember one night, I was driving down the road, and Bridget had come by and got me, and we were driving down the road, and she had this spaced out look in her face. Not angry anymore, not sad anymore, just over it. So I thought, I was going to lose the last person that really loved me. So I'm going to try not to do this. But
no, man, that's real.
It's all good, bro. It's all right. I'm surprised you made it this far.
yeah. But
I'll cry with you, man.
I just told myself, I didn't want to lose her and the girls and what family that that I had gotten through our relationship, And at the time, I didn't, I think about that more now, but at the time, I didn't want to lose her. I didn't want to lose Priya, and I knew something had to change. I'm sitting here living in a little one room in a garage with nothing, with people that don't care about me, and the only person that cares about me, I'm hurting every chance I get. So I remember we were riding around, and I'm just driving. I'm driving fast as I can, and I've got warrants out for me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a sheriff." She's like, "I never look for the police. You got to come find me, and I am listed as a runner. I'm a big boy, but I'm going. I'm going." And she's like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. Call somebody." I actually called the head of FICE, Mike Apple, and told him, I said, "Look, man, I'm gonna come turn myself in." And it was so bad they couldn't believe it. There was like 4 of them standing at the door, like, he really came. I just got to that point where I'd had enough. Didn't have anywhere to live. I knew she knew I would be safe, had food, I'd have shelter. I could give her at least that much peace, get the things I had to take care of, taken care of. So while in jail, I started, instead of doing the things I used to do in jail, I dug into the Bible. I got into it with a guy, and they put me in the hole, and that's where I really started reading the Bible. And I started understanding what I was reading. And I told Bridget, I said, I need to do something else when I get out of here. I'm not ready to come home. I need to figure out how to live this life, because I had no clue. She looked around and she found a place in Greensboro called Adult Teen Challenge, and said it's 100% faith-based, and automatically I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going somewhere for 7 months in Jesus boot camp, as I called it. I wasn't at that point. I wanted to serve the Lord, but I didn't want to serve Him that much in my mind. I wasn't ready to go and just give 7 months. I'd already been gone, but so I thought about it, prayed about it, and I called her back and said, I want to go to the place in Greensboro. She's like, I thought you didn't want to go there. I said, that's where I think the Lord's calling me there. And at the time, I didn't realize how much He was calling me there. So I got home that night, and I spent not even 24 hours at home and went straight there. Automatically, I felt a love. We talk about it, our men's group. It's something about a group of men or women like this group. You become family. But this was like an instant feeling. It's almost overwhelming, but just everybody was there was trying to help me. Everybody there was trying to comfort me. I hadn't been clean, 3 months? So I'm still going through 32 years of addiction, trying to figure out why all these men are trying to hug me, and it was different at the time, and I didn't know. But so I go through the program for 3 months, and during this time I realized that I definitely had anger issues, I had pride issues, I had me issues, I had daddy issues, I had so many issues that I was working on, but I thought I had it all figured out. So after 3 months, I left, and when I say I left, she wouldn't come get me, so I walked from Greensboro to almost all the way to Burlington in the middle of the night. And she still wouldn't come get me, so I hitchhiked back. I went walking back because I didn't have any socks on, boots, and a t-shirt, and it was the beginning of March. It was cold, and I remember watching the crystals of ice form on the but during that walk, it was like our pastor, or not pastor, but our director said, that was like my road to Damascus. That was, because I talked to God, I yelled at God, I cried, I almost got hit by a car, and I was just like, why'd you let him miss? You know what I'm saying? I was just going through that, and I don't take, when I say this stuff, I say jokingly, I don't take any of that lightly. Suicide to me is not something, it's not a light thing. It's at the time, though, when people are in those spots, take it serious, because you don't know exactly where they're at. And a lot of people say, oh, they're just saying that, they're just looking for attention. Well, good. Give them the attention they need, because you never know where that's going to take them. If they can't even get a little bit of negative attention from you, you could save a life, honestly. But so I ended up going back. I stayed a little while longer and left anyway. I went home. We got a house. We got jobs. But I still had this gap inside of me that and I tried to play it. She'll tell you, I tried to just play like everything was okay. Everything's okay. But she knew something was wrong. And what it was, the Holy Spirit started tugging at me. He said, you need to go complete this program. And I didn't know why, at the time. So we were actually in celebrate recovery on Thursday night over at Harvest, and I said, Bridget, I'm going back to Teen Challenge. She's like, all right, well, we talk about it. When you want to go back? I said, well, I'm going back tomorrow. And I'd already talked to the coordinator because I know Bridget, and you know, I got to get things rolling before she'll tell me, you know. But all jokes aside, you know, this woman has stuck by me through the hardest of times. And I remember I went to work the next day. I was helping, where's he at? Scott. I was helping him do a little fix in a driveway for somebody. And we were talking. I was telling him, you know, I'm thinking about going back to Teen Challenge. I'm not sure. And we're just standing there talking to one another. And I was like, I don't know if this is really what I need to do, you know. And I feel like the Holy Spirit's telling me this. And I'm glad he's here tonight because I don't share this part of my testimony unless he's here. Because it's that unbelievable. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if this is really what God wants me to do. And I swear on everything I love, he's my witness. A hummingbird comes up, and we're standing about this far apart from each other. The hummingbird comes up and directly in my face sits there and hovers for a second and turns his head like, really, bro? Did he not? I swear. And I mean, that's why I don't tell that part of the story unless he's around. Looked at me, turned his head, and then just flew off. And he's like, if that ain't good enough answer for you, I don't know what to tell you. So I did. I went back, and this time I dedicated everything to that. It was my mission to not only fix what I'd messed up with my family, but to fix me and get a relationship with God. And I knew at this point that was the most important thing. So I dug in with everything I had. The second week I was there, Bridget brought her brother to the program. He got in the program. We went and got married that morning. So we got married in the program. I went back to Teen Challenge and spent my honeymoon with my brother-in-law.
That sounds weird, man.
On it though.
Did you hear the first part of the story? That's all that got your attention? Come on, man. I can tell you some stuff, but I'm not going to, give the devil no glory in my story. So I did. I spent, but to me, that was one of the biggest blessings because I told God, I said, God, if you'll get Shane some help, I'll stand by him the whole time.
And he's doing great.
And God has a funny way of doing things because I ended up back in a program for 7 months. I graduated 2 weeks before him, and yeah, he's back there doing great. And a guy that I was in jail with before I went to Teen Challenge, I told him about that. He graduated the program. And I give God all the honor and glory for all of that. But while I was there, I cooked in the kitchen. They didn't have anybody that could get in the kitchen. I cooked for 7 months, 3 meals a day for 20 guys every single day. And I looked at it as I had a chance to give back for something, that I'd taken from some people all my life. And to me, getting up doing that, it wasn't a chore. It was a blessing. Mm-hmm. Since me and Bridget got married, we went through the marriage restoration. Most everything that bad had happened in our relationship, we worked on that. And of course, we worked on it during this, but we were able to build, like you were saying, a Christ-centered marriage by doing this. So for 7 months, we went through counseling, we went through classes, we prayed together, did everything. She was very involved at Teen Challenge. She'd rather come up there and see the guys than see me most of the time, which is good because she's built great relationships in that. But I went through the whole process. We've got a marriage based on Christ now, and she'll tell you I can't tell you the last time we really had an argument. Like we get snippy with each other. We're married, and we're both hard-headed, but having a Christ-centered relationship in our marriage has been better for our kids. Our whole family, all the way around, I feel like you know, just God has restored so much in our family, and we've gotten all close. We're all closer now. Like they said, Shane's doing great. He's living up there now. He's working for one of the guys through the program. But my last month of Teen Challenge, they asked me to come back on staff. So now I'm up there working on staff. The God is just, I graduated March 21st, and God has opened so many doors. So many doors that I'm having to pick which one, you know, God is, which one do you want me to go through? And I couldn't have done any of that, you know, without the relationship that I got with Jesus Christ. You know, and everybody's relationship with Jesus Christ is different. But I tried everything throughout the years of getting sober, doing better. Nothing worked for me, you know, and people that hear me say that now, they're like, what is this guy? You know, I mean, like, his brother Jamie came, and me and Jamie have been friends since we was kids. And he had to come see for himself that, you know, this was the man that people were talking about. Where people used to text me or message me on Facebook for drugs, they message you now for prayer. And I can't tell you how good of a feeling that is. You know, to be able to be somebody that people look so much into, the light shining out of me, God's light shining through me so much that people seek me to pray for them. You know, and Bridget.
And it shows, Jason.
Well,
Yeah, but I remember the first time you went down there, you was at CR.
yeah, the first night.
We
Yeah,
prayed over you.
and
I remember that.
it's just we have a heart for ministry, and we're letting God lead that, and hope the doors are opening. You know, patience. God, things still happen in life. We had a Bible. We started a men's Bible study on Monday nights called The Light, and it's been a blessing to every man that's walked through that door. I feel like we talked last night about Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. You know, lean not on your own understanding, put all of your faith and trust in the Lord. And a lot of times that's hard, but since I've done that, you know, I've got 19 months clean now.
Congratulations.
Anger and things, you know, it's still things, like you say, you got to work on. It don't just disappear. Life don't become puppies and kittens whenever you decide I'm going to walk with the Lord. It's actually gotten harder because the devil's going to attack you from every direction, you know. I will say this, my oldest son's mom died. She was 43 years old, had a stroke, instantly died, and I was able to, you know, because we still had a good friendship. Bridget knew her, they were becoming friends. But I was able to get through that and not feel that feeling of loss again. You know, I knew she was gone. She's gone to heaven. She was a good person. She was saved, but I was able to get through that. I didn't have to say, all right, man, this is going on in my life now. I'm gonna go get high. I don't use that as an excuse anymore, because honestly, when we get sober and out of active addiction, it's an excuse to go back. You know, and you just, if you surrender it, give it to the Lord, say, look, I just want you to guide me every day in this. You know, not saying that we won't have those thoughts or man, I could sure use a joint right now. You know, it's okay. It's just, no, it's not. To me, it's not. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to use my story in the past and help so many others now. You know, every day it's a blessing being in the ministry, and being in these groups, the CR groups. We go to 3 different CRs a week. We're doing a lot, and it's overwhelming, you know. And again, I'm so grateful for my wife, because she is so supportive of everything, you know. And it's just, I'm proud of her, and my daughter Bria, and all y'all, every one of y'all, you know, to see you guys every week. Just take your time when everybody could be doing something totally different. Right now, tonight, you know, we're taking the minute to not only work on our recovery, but to work on it with the Lord. And that's the biggest point to me, that when I'm working on my recovery, God's got that. you know, I don't have to do that. I'm working on my relationship with Jesus Christ, and I'm working on it with a family of people that's working on it, that lean on each other when we need to, and pray for each other especially. You know, that's the biggest thing. But so yeah, thank y'all for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing.